Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about what I did in my 20s. I am not in my 20s. If you don't know that, don't understand that, but I'm definitely not in my 20s now, okay? But I just want to talk about the things that I did and how I lived my life, and maybe this can give you some inspiration or some insight of maybe how you could live your life in your 20s or maybe in your 30s too, right? So number one, I focus on me, period, right? It wasn't easy. I will tell you that later on in the video. It was not easy. But what I did is I worked out. I was very, very avid runner. There was periods in my life where I did lifting, and I think I'm going to do more lifting now, but I was a runner. I ate right. I dated around. I didn't have any children. I focused on my career. I focused on my relationships, as in like my close relationships, the best friends that I had, my sister, my mom and my dad. I also lost friendships too. There was a point in my life when I was around like 28, 29, where it felt like I was losing every close friendship I had, with the exception of my family, right? And I did not know why. I could not explain it. Just we would have falling outs, or it's just we were no longer compatible. And it lasted like that for a very, very, very long time. And I never got an explanation of why I felt like I was losing all my close connections, but I did. And I feel like God ordained that for a reason. So all I could do during that time was focus on myself, get my education. I ended up graduating with I have my associates, I have a bachelor's, and I have my master's. I really just did me, in my 20s. So outside of that, I focused on my career, right? So you focus on your body, getting your life together, right? But secondly, I focused on my career. I was very great at my job, better than others. I was very much praised for that. But I also will tell you, I was very much disliked for that too. Disliked more so by men than women for being great at my job. And then when I was disliked by women, it was because they were butt ugly. They looked like they fell off the back of a truck. And so when I came into the room, it was a wrap for them. Like, the attention was off of them. They just didn't like it. And it's not like something that I was trying to put in their face, but I put an effort in myself. And I will say that too. I put an effort in what I look like. I focused on my skin, focused on my hair. I focused on my beauty routine. I upgraded and leveled up every time that I could, right? And it's not because it was a competition, but it's because I wanted to better myself. I wanted to be the best representation of myself. And I discovered who I was. I discovered how I like to wear my hair. I discovered my beauty routine in my 20s, so that when you get your 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, it's second nature, right? And nobody can sway you from to and fro. Like, you already know who you are. So I will say a lot of people in their 20s, or even when you're in your 20s and they're in their 30s and 40s and they don't know who they are, they will hate your entire guts. I don't know why, but I would think you'd be trying to congratulate a sister, but that doesn't happen at all. That's not what that's about. So anyways, so yeah, I focus on myself, focus on my career. But I also want to tell you about some things where it wasn't the best. Like, so since I was married a long time ago, right? Got divorced in my early 20s. And I said, if I ever were to get married again, it would be only one other time, right? So here we are, not married, still no kids, living my best life, right? But I will tell you, I would say I was made to feel like I was less than because I didn't have a child, or because I wasn't married. But I will tell you, all the married men that I ran into said I was doing it right. I was doing it right not to have kids, not to get married early, not to say that people waste their time when they get married early, but they don't get to see what else is out there. And a lot of times men get married, the men that I know, I'm sure some people marry for love, but not every single last one of them. The men that get married is because they knocked someone up. And I hate saying knock someone up, but because it takes two to tango. But they they did the manly thing, right? They married this woman. And then 10 years down the road, even 5, maybe even a year and a half down the road, they realize they married the wrong person. But what do you do when you're 1 kid in? And the next thing you know, you're still busting nuts in this lady and you got 2 and 3 and 4 kids, right? So what they end up doing, instead of leaving their wife, they end up cheating. So a lot of men that seem like they are faithful, good guys, they're cheaters. I will tell you that right now. Like, ooh. Anyways, so hearing from married people that I did it right, kudos to me. Not saying that you don't feel lonely, when you literally have it all, but you don't have a companion to share things with or a child to take care of. There's pros and cons to that. It's not easy, but it's the life that I think I was handed, to be honest, because I wouldn't have planned it this way. I didn't plan it this way, but I dated around, had boyfriends, but nothing seemed to be the right fit for me, to be honest, right? So I can talk about that later. It's just the type of men that I dated, and I realized this is not it. Okay? You're not the one or the two for me, right? And sometimes when you get into that mode, you kind of feel like, am I supposed to be single for the rest of my life? Like, where are these guys that we're supposed to be compatible with each other and, work things out? But didn't happen that way. And the last thing I will say too about like being made to feel bad is because a lot of people will say like, oh, at your age, you would be looking for a husband or looking for someone to have kids by. But the thing is, a lot of mothers that, not that I have known, because I haven't known a mother to admit this, but a lot of mothers on the internet, on the interwebs, they say, and they could have 3 kids of their own, don't have any kids. Which I always thought that was weird. But a lot of mothers on the internet that I don't know, but probably because, like I said, people in real life probably would never admit that, but on the internet they feel safe, say not to have kids. And I think that's kind of mind-boggling, because you had 1 child or maybe multiple children and you knew that was not the move, but you did it for whatever reason you did it for, right? Nobody can shame someone for having kids or not having kids. They shouldn't be, but we're in a real world, and that's what happens all the time. But the fact that there's so many mothers, whether they're single mothers or even married, they say don't have kids, I can only deduce that they feel that way because they feel like they lost out on their 20s. They lost out on getting their education. They lost out on focusing on themselves. They lost out on finding out who they were, and they had to pour themselves into a child or into a marriage, into a relationship, And so it's pros and cons to deciding to take the blue pill or the red pill, right? So what I will say at the end of the day, no matter if you're in your 20s and 30s, you have to live your life the way you want to do it, as the way you see fit, because this is your life, right? No one else's opinion really shouldn't matter on how you live your life and what you do, because you have to answer to God, right? And you have to answer to yourself, and you have to go to bed at night with yourself, with your own mental, with your own mind. And it's not easy to think about all the things that people have to say, but at the same time, their opinion never mattered anyways, because it's you versus you, period, right? So that's all I wanted to say. That's what I did in my 20s. I did it the right way, because I can't tell you how many people's like, you did it right, I didn't have kids. I not to say I haven't had relationships, but I did not end up getting remarried, and I didn't end up having a child, but I did focus on where I end up accumulating a lot of money based on my career, that I'm set up for life based, thank you God for that, my Lord and Savior. I was able to get educated. I'm an educated sister, and it worked out for its best. So I can't complain. There's no reason to complain. I should not be complaining. And I have, in my 30s and 40s, I have a feeling that I'm going to get that other half, that what I didn't get in my 20s, right? Which is marriage and children, and I have my own home and my cars and everything, and I have a lot of things that a lot of people wish they could obtain, but they end up obtaining children instead. And not to say there's no blessing in having a child, but when you have children, you have to sacrifice everything else. You have to sacrifice your wants and your needs because now you have to take care of another human, another dependent for the rest of your life. Being a mom and dad does not end at 18. Like, I still depend on my parents, not financially, but the fact that I actually have my mom and my dad, it's a blessing, and I'm able to talk to them any day, and I just, I thank God for that. So they didn't stop being my parent at 17 to 18. They're still there. So, live your life to the way you see fit. Don't let no one shame you. It's not a bad way to do it, whether you have kids young or you don't have any children. Live your best life, and everyone else can kick rocks.